Yeah, response video to Luddite. I don't really want to play the video twice, so I'm just going to do it once, and so I'll make a response to it while I'm doing it, just because it's just so stupid. So anyway, to preface, it's going to be a long video, no doubt. To preface, he made a video making the argument, a semi-thought experiment, but this idea of where you have to personally torture a child to, let's say, preserve the existence of the human race. And so he, in empathy, said, okay, he wouldn't do that. Because, yes, trivially, he could figure out that torture isn't worth watching the Red Sox win the World Series. There's nothing human beings are going to do that's worth the torture of one child, even. And that's just a fact. They're just going to redundantly live out a bunch of bullshit. But what's underlying this thought experiment is the fact that he does endorse, though, just allowing the machine to keep running. Okay, because he doesn't have to take responsibility for it. He claims no responsibility, and that's the joke here. His words and his advocacy are exactly what keeps the engine running. The engine will continue to run as long as people spout what he is spouting. And so as long as you don't put up your hand and say, no, I don't think continuing is a good idea, then you're pushing the wagon that will torture millions of kids. So you're far more insidious a monster in that sense, because you're doing it for exactly the same reason. Some notion that you're going to win the Red Sox are going to win the World Series is somehow valuable, because you won't clearly just say, no, it's not worth it. It's not worth the children being tortured right now, and they will inevitably be tortured. So this is not an unknown, this is statistical fact. And he just ignores all that and claims God did it or something else, and claims no responsibility for the fact that human beings right now are creating those lives that will be tortured. It's just absolute bullshit. Yeah.
Thank you for the response, Anacantabad. I find myself pretty much in agreement with what you had to say. Now, someone in my
idiots think alike, I suppose.
Horror video did a comment, and I can't, it hadn't occurred to me, I suppose, to think of this. But he asked the question, ask an efilist if the efilist would torture a child in order to push the red button.
Okay, so the simple question is okay, so you're one of the Frankenstein monsters sitting in the ditch as you've been rolled out the back door, and the argument being made is, would you torture one of you to stop Frankenstein, like use you as cannon fodder or something, or some kind of mechanism that would create this opportunity? And, to put it, I've already stated it in videos, but yeah, if you could hang me on a cross for 1,000,000 years as the price to prevent the continuation of life on Earth, I would say do it. I wouldn't like it. I'd complain about it after I sign the contract, but I'd certainly sign the contract to endure 1,000,000 years of torture to prevent the continuation of life on Earth. Because I know for a certainty, if it isn't prevented, the amount of suffering you assholes will impose is going to be far greater than the suffering I'll endure as one individual for 1,000,000 years. Because you will torture billions of people over and over and over again until something stops you, until some force stops you. And I'm not very pessimistic that I can provide that force. So yes, if I had the contract in front of me and I could sign the contract to endure 1,000,000 years of torture to end your insidious reign, I would do it.
So in ethics, we engage in what's called, reflective equilibrium. In other words, a test for coherence of mutual or...
I wonder what you would sacrifice to preserve the human race. So it's all counting on you. The contract's in front of you. What would you pay? How many years of torture would you endure to perpetuate the joke that is called the human race? And the biosphere, of course.
When placed together, of the sum total of our ethical propositions that we accept as true. And I think that, we engage in such thought experiments as a test for coherency.
Right, well, and you fail the test because you don't apply the thought experiment fairly. Again, you can't speculate on this ability to perpetuate the human race when you're already perpetuating the human race. So you're saying for the elimination of a threat to the existence of the human race, you wouldn't torture one child. But you will torture children daily. You will advocate for their torture. And in effect, in simple statistical fact, you will guarantee it.
Right. So on completely negative utilitarian grounds, consequentialist grounds, then the case is quite clear. Yes.
Yes, the case is quite clear. If you give me the bargain of I have to personally run a child over with my car, okay, and the bargain is 100 children that will be run over by cars in your stupid, idiotic world. It's a fact. And I can prevent those 100 children from being run over and guarantee them a replacement death that'll be quite nice and pleasant. They'll die in their sleep, let's say. So they get to live out a regular life and die in their sleep in exchange for me running over one child now. One new child. Yeah, I'm running it over. Okay, because it's the right fucking thing to do. I mean, it's, again, you want to keep denying the fact that there's a mathematics to this, that the horror is red numbers, and this whatever, the anti-horror, the absence of it, the removal of it is green or whatever color you want to make it, but they're opposite. They neutralize each other, and it's just a fact of our reality. It's unpleasant as hell, but it's a fact. There are bargains here. And maybe it takes a little bit of balls to make one, but they've got to be made. When there's a bargain, you've got to use the coupon and you've got to buy the bargain.
Right. But along with the individual who would torture a child to save humankind, one who would torture a child to push the red button strikes me as monstrous in turn.
Yeah, well, that's just because you're too stupid to do basic math. I mean, I would have to be a complete idiot to sit there and look in the face of 1 million people committing suicide every year, even those alone, even to spare that 1 million, that angst. And I get the choice to just torture one child for however long, I don't know what period of time the child has to be tortured. But you're giving me this equation of hours upon hours, years upon years, decades upon decades of human suffering in exchange for one human suffering for a limited amount of time. Again, I won't make it a child. Torture me, fucker. Okay? I mean, this is just idiotic not to say you don't do this rational math. It's idiotic. Why would I forsake the others? Because one's in front of me, it makes a difference, and they're not in front of me, that should make the difference? Or should the goddamn grotesque numbers make the difference? Well, I think the numbers, the quantity matters. Shit. Anyway, I'll get back to this. Bathtub and shit. Alright, how about another thought experiment? Just to reveal your the lack of decency in your ethics. Let's say the scenario isn't whether the human race continues. Let's say the scenario is you got two choices, okay? If you torture a child, you personally, and let's say for 1 year, the human race will be rendered perfect in terms of anybody who wants to live on Paradise Island, where everything goes right. Their hair gets thicker, their belly gets thinner, their dick gets longer, everything, it's win everywhere. They go to the roulette table, they win every day, they wake up every day in paradise and live out a very comfortable life. No sickness, no real hard deprivations at all. Just nice little gratifications of just the right amount of hunger, just the right amount of horny, just the right amount of everything. And if they choose not to be blissful, they can still be one of you assholes and say, yeah, give me the old life. And you'll have your choice to live whatever you want in terms of enduring whatever suffering you care to endure. But anyway, it's all a matter of choice, and clearly a huge percentage of the suffering on planet Earth will be eradicated. So, and the alternative is that everything just stays the way it is, all right? And you're guaranteed, and I'm giving you the guarantee that there's going to be human life for 1,000 years, and that it's going to live in mediocrity and squalor, that the majority of people are going to live in deprivation, pain, suffering. and that's going to be a fact of life. Do you torture the child then? I mean, really, it all comes down to you torture one child to prevent untold amounts of harm and suffering. Do you have the balls to do the right thing? I mean, do you have the balls to apply your intelligence? Or do you acquiesce and just say, no, I can't do it. The DNA molecule knows what it's doing. It's in control. I can't exercise any control. I can't apply my intelligence to do the right thing. I'm just going to let it do the wrong thing and sit back and support it in its effort to do the wrong thing. Okay. I'll take your no answer as a, oh yeah, I didn't think of that. I am a hypocrite.
But let's up the ante. I mean, pushing negative utilitarianism to its limits. How about 1,000 children?
Well, look, it just take all the total that's going to, let's just make it a guarantee, okay? Let's say there's going to be 10 megatons of suffering over the next 10 years. And I get the bargain where I can personally impose 9 megatons of suffering, okay, right now, to prevent the 10. Yeah, I'm taking the bargain, okay? If I have a guarantee of 9 versus 10, that means I saved a net 1, which is 1 megaton of suffering. Why wouldn't I do that? Of course, it's the rational right thing to do, because obviously the 10 that are going to suffer are worth just as much as the 9 that are going to suffer. Okay, and the fact is the 1 will be benefited by not suffering. So there, I win. I mean, really, this doesn't matter. This is like arguing about who should die. If there's a plane crash and a baseball team has to be on the plane, does it matter whether it's the Red Sox or the Yankees? Well, it just matters on how. If there's 20 Red Sox and 25 Yankees, well, I guess you go with the fucking Red Sox because there's less players, right? Duh.
For a year, you give them intravenous fluids, perhaps insert a peg tube so they can maintain their nutrition, and day in and day out, torture 1,000 children for a year, hearing them scream, hearing them...
Yeah, well, look, it's happening right the fuck now in all your goddamn mercy hospitals. Right the fuck now, you insidious monsters are torturing children. Right the fuck now. Thousands, millions of them. Millions.
Egg for release. Then you can push the red button. Think of all the children you would save in the long term, right? Would the efilist do so? I would say to take your room in which said torture is being engaged and cram it up your fucking ass.
Yeah, well, that rhetoric just doesn't go anywhere because, again, you're the one imposing it right now. You're the one who's sitting there advocating for statistical facts. Okay, you're the one endorsing and embracing it. You put your seal of motherfucking approval on it, signed, sealed, and delivered. You're a motherfucking insidious torturer right the fuck now. Not theoretical, not in some thought experiment. You violating the rules right the fuck now, cunt. It's on you. The blood is on your fucking motherfucking hands, jackass. So you're the monster. You're the one with the real blood, with the real torture on your fucking hands. I've done nothing. I didn't advocate for making this goddamn mess. You're the ones who made the mess, jackass. I'm the cleaner.
Someone who would say yes. So there's a kind of war between virtue ethics, deontology, and consequentialism, I suppose.
No, there's no war here, okay? We're anti your fucking procreation, shithead. And so to talk about these end result things, these what would be the most extreme circumstance where you'll still fight the war? That's right, I'm in the war and I'm going to fight the war, okay? Anytime the war has any hope of succeeding, I'm in the war. But there's better ways to win the war. The better way to win the war is to shut you fuckers up, to shut you fuckers down. You're the ones creating this mess. You're the ones playing God. We're asking you to quit playing God, cunt. We're not asking to torture anybody. We don't want that to be the fucking equation. You're the one forcing it, you stupid shit, because you're the one making the guaranteed mess. Not a theoretical mess, not a maybe mess. No, a guaranteed statistical inevitability mess, you motherfucker. You're statistically guaranteed to be torturing. The blood is on your fucking hands.
But on the issue of empathy, Anacantafat, I agree. Well, there's two main things at issue. What does it mean to be empathetic? What are the ramifications for ethics? As we know, there's a long...
Well, whatever. It's a silly fucking concept as a word. It's a stupid, dumb fucking word, okay? Empathy is irrelevant. You either understand something has value or you don't understand. Okay, this idea that you need some sort of emotional response to make it work is just fucking bullshit.
Long emotivist tradition, excuse me, that grounds ethics in empathy. And your contention that empathy is a two-way street. And I think that you highlighted a very...
a very silly idea. Let's reverse all concepts. So guilt isn't anything now that you impose on yourself through understanding responsibility, and now empathy isn't something you have for somebody who's in a negative condition, that somehow you're supposed to be empathetic for some asshole eating a bag of potato chips, and you're supposed to be thinking that somehow that's important enough to torture children over. Well, that's the whole fucking goddamn point, you jackass, is that it's not important enough to torture children over.
Profound point, and that is, secondarily, persons themselves are castigated into the realm of non-being in the absence of empathy for persons experientially both hedonically negative and positive. Right?
Oh, whatever, just a pile of crap. Why don't you bring up love next? You know, why don't you see how just stupid and gooey you can make philosophy? You're using all these big words and ontology, blah, blah, all this bullshit, and now you're going to play with a fucking word as useless as empathy, okay, which is tied directly to all kinds of prejudices and bigotries. What's the fucking point? It's not about you having empathy. Again, it's having respect.
So, for example... I made a comment on one of Derived Energy's video when he talks about, destroying the world kind of thing. Please don't murder my children. Well, half in jest. And of course his response was, well, Luddite, why are you taking this so personally? Right? If I blow up the world, well, my intention's not really to kill your children.
Yeah. And I made a response to that too and pointed out that it's not about killing your motherfucking cunt children, jackass. It's about not having them made in the first place by you damn God players. You're the ones who have guaranteed your child's death. You signed your child's death warrant. You signed it, shithead. The minute you said, oh, I want to, yeah, you sentenced your own children to death, idiot.
So much, right? It would just be secondary to the fact that the whole world's gone. Now, this to me is, I thought this almost amusing. That persons can be so disconnected from reality as we...
Yeah, exactly. That you can be so disconnected from reality as to attempt to accuse somebody else of killing your children when you, in fact, are going to kill your children.
Experience and for familial relationships. Why take it personally? Well, parents who love their children tend to take the thought of their early demise.
Oh, love again. Okay, so love is now a legitimate philosophical concept. We have to sit there and engage in conversation philosophically about parents who love their children, and that's somehow supposed to be relevant to something other than their emotional problem. That's their emotional problem. Loving your children is your emotional problem. All right, it has nothing to do with the properties that children have and the needs that children have. And one of the first needs I had was not to be interfered with by some asshole like you who thought you were doing me a fucking favor. Oh yes, come smell my anus. No, thank you, motherfucking molesting jackass. Shove your anus up your ass.
Personally, right? But Mindham said something to the effect of in a video, well, you asshole, you've already murdered your children by bringing them into existence, right? You see, so here we see an experiential absence of empathy for those positive things that renders persons as non-existent. Why? If he pushed the button, well, I've already killed my children, so if he kills them, he can't really in his mind, right? Because they're already dead, as it were. He even states, well, life is death. Well, black is white, left is right, up is down, so on and so forth. What a contradictory statement.
Right, and you're still going to make these justifications. So you're doing exactly what the other guy said. You're saying, I will torture people so people can eat banana splits. you're again going to sit there and tell me that your stupid little experiences are going to make some kind of difference. And the fact is, it's not going to make any difference. Everybody's just living because they don't want to die. That's why they're living. Okay, they go to their mundane job and talk to their fucking inane wife and exist in their silly life because they don't want to die. Their choice is do this shit or die. And they say, well, I'd rather not die today because it doesn't look like it's any fun at all. So quit lying, you liar. God, you're disgusting.
Is dead, right? But, yes, so secondarily persons, much easier to throw the Jew into the furnace when the Jew is something less than human, as it were. A cockroach.
Oh, whatever. Nobody's doing that, so that's just another fucking, that's just grotesque ad hominem bullshit. Again, I'm saying throw me into the oven for 1,000,000 fucking years to avoid your tyranny. Guaranteed, I'll sign the contract. Give me the goddamn deal and I'll sign it. Because you're the fucking Holocaust incarnate. You're right here on Earth. You're the fucking Hitler right the fuck now.
Right. Very much a feature of ideology the world over. Marxism being aligned very closely with...
I mean, Jesus Christ, whatever the word for this is. But yeah, Hitler, Marx, now bring up Stalin, and maybe you can bring up some of the Asian crazies next too. What a crock of shit, you sadistic, ugly motherfucker.
The kind of centralized statism. Much easier. Or the French Revolution, much easier to kill when the object of your ire, if you will, is something less than human. And so you make a very profound point. I don't think that it's necessary for antinatalism to experientially or to shit all over the experiences of persons.
Oh, again, this subject, antinatalism, guess what? Again, it's about procreation, jackass. It's about you playing God. Alright, again, keep distracting, keep distorting, keep perverting the subject. You create the first violation, the first imposition. You're the one in somebody's business first, fucker. Alright, and these other people have to advocate to get you out of the slavery business. The biosphere you are enslaving to your silly, fat, potato chip life.
And went relative to positive hedonic experience, right? Empathy has something to do with being able to see the world as others see it. Well, they see the world wrong.
Bullshit. Where do you get that from? Where the fuck do you get these silly definitions of empathy? Empathy isn't just seeing the world the way other people see it. It's traditionally and almost exclusively used in a sympathetic context, where you're empathizing, when you're feeling their pain.
From God's eye view, as it were, can see that they see the world wrongly. You see, lack of epistemic humility. Epistemological humility is a feature of the ability to be empathetic. I'll give you an example.
Well, again, more retarded nonsense. Has nothing to do with philosophy. These are emotional responses, have nothing to do with reality, okay? There's absolutely no point in imagining what it is to chase the balloon. Yes, we can all imagine chasing the balloon, chasing the pink balloon. Happy, happy retard. And what's the point of it? To say what? Oh yes, fulfilling desire is all there is. No, that isn't all there is. There's this huge consequential suffering that you're imposing for it, jackass. You're torturing children for it, jackass. You sadistic motherfucker.
I don't want to toot my own horn, so to speak, like, oh, I'm so... But today, this very day, a woman suffering from urinary tract infection, dementia, can give the dementia-like symptoms in the elderly in particular. She was not in a good place, psychologically. Very distraught. She grabbed my hand and pulled me close and said, begged me, say a prayer with me.
Oh, this is just too pukey. Yeah, so you placated, you patronized, you gave somebody a delusion to live by, you comforted somebody with lies. So just like everybody raises their kid on tooth fairies and Santa Claus because Darwin isn't a good story, so they tell them lies to live by, lies to be comforted by. And somebody who has any kind of intelligence is to say what to that except, God damn it. Alright? Take it to a nursery school. I might finish this, but I don't think so. I don't think I'll bother. This is a disgusting pile of crap. Fail.